Hi, everybody. Welcome. We're going to wait a couple of minutes till people file in here. Thank you for coming this evening. Looks like our numbers are slowly growing. Okay, we're 2 minutes after, so I think we'll get started. And also, this is a panel, so you do have access to the chat, and you'll be able to chat questions. And actually, the first part, we're going to ask you to participate in something as well. My name is Jeremy Goldstein. I'm with the Trust for the National Mall, and we'll start off with something you may be familiar with. You may have done when you were teaching fully remotely, but this is called a chatterfall. And what you're going to do is if you haven't done one before, in the chat, go ahead and type in your favorite monument or memorial. Don't hit enter yet, but at the count of 3, 2, 1, we'll drop enter and we'll be able to see everybody's preference. I'll put mine in as well. And what you'll do is just hit enter and we'll see a virtual waterfall of input. So which one is your favorite or preferred monument or memorial in the mall? Whether you visited it or not, or enjoyed it and admired it from afar, that's always possible. And at the count of 3, 2, 1. Got a lot of Lincolns, Jeffersons, Vietnam. Oh, wow. Overwhelming Lincolns. I think it's iconic. We've got Jefferson, FDR. I put FDR in as well. If you haven't been there, it's great. It looks like we have a good collection. I think Lincoln won it, and it reminds me of at the baseball games when we have the president's race here in DC, the Nationals games. If you haven't seen that, that's pretty funny. So thank you all for joining us, and thanks for entering your favorite national mall or monument or your memorial, national mall, monument, or memorial in the chat. I want to give you a little bit of an overview of what we'll be doing today. We want to be efficient. We want to save educators time. That's our number one thing as a teacher. It's important for me to get as much professional development learning in a small package so you can keep on doing the work that matters. We're doing introductions, and we'll talk about our participating organizations. A welcome from our partner, Destination DC, a little bit about the Teach 250 program, and then we'll introduce the National Mall Gateway, which we're really proud of. We'll talk a little bit about the Lockkeeper's House and give you a lesson resource to go for the Lockkeeper's House, courtesy of the National Mall Gateway and all of our partners. And then we'll give you a quick call to action, which may get you some free stuff at the end of this as well, which is always really great. But that is our session today, and we'll move forward. I want to introduce some of our participating partners and our team as well. I'm Jeremy Goldstein. I'm the Vice President of Programs at the Trust for the National Mall. We are the philanthropic partner to the National Park Service on the National Mall specifically. And I worked with the team that developed the National Mall Gateway, a platform for educators by educators. I am a 25-year veteran teacher and administrator, and my team includes Bobby Caith, who is a technology product manager. We also have an education specialist at the National Park Service, Jen Epstein, Allie Baltras, Bethany Badgett. All three of them are currently out of office. And Destiny Hodge and Daiki Tsumagari is the rest of our team that developed the National Mall Gateway. And we did have a partner in developing it, which is a company called Dynapt. We had to have a developer write the code for everything. I'd like to pass it over to Lindsay Hill, who is the Director of Visitor Experience and Group Tour at Destination DC. Lindsay's here with us, and she's one of our partners. If you look along the bottom of our slides, the National Mall Gateway, the National Park Service, the Trust for the National Mall, and Destination DC are our partners. And I'll go ahead and hand it over to Lindsay.
Thank you, Jeremy. Hi, everybody. Good evening. My name is Lindsay Hill, and as Jeremy mentioned, I am the Director of Visitor Experience and Group Tour at Destination DC, helping all student travelers who come through the city. We are the official tourism bureau for Washington, DC, and we are so excited to partner with the National Park Service, National Mall, Memorial Parks, and the Trust for the National Mall on this webinar series this year. Our hope is to highlight the many resources available to you from city partners, whether that's in classroom lesson plans, virtual workshops, or in-person tours. So because there's only one place, if you want to go to the next slide, because there's only one place where you can learn about the nation's founding documents for free while understanding the local perspective that informs national history, showcased through 6 crafted themes to touch on American accomplishments through history, art, science, and sports, as well as what the next 250 years will bring. Go on to the next slide. So Washington, D.C. has what you need to commemorate America's 250th birthday all year long through themed itineraries, special exhibits, and iconic celebrations, all found at dc250.us. And hopefully we will see you in 2026. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Lindsay. And just a little bit about Teach 250. We developed this with the Park Service last year to provide professional development opportunities, a space for educators to learn more about the National Mall. And now we're expanding as well to the rest of DC with Destination DC. This is a series of webinars. We hope you join us for multiple webinars, which provides opportunities to share not only iconic sites, but we also want to keep an eye on the pedagogy and practice of teaching about American civics through these iconic spaces and places in Washington, D.C. And we are based right around the corner from the National Mall, so we spend a lot of time there as well. I want to introduce the National Mall Gateway. I'm going to hand it over to my colleague, Bobby Caith. The National Mall Gateway is our platform for civic learning on the National Mall, and it's a new platform that was just recently launched on September 17th, Constitution Day, and it includes a number of different features. It allows you to enhance your on-site visit, as well as enhance a visit from a distance to the National Mall in a way never experienced before. We developed this starting 3 years ago after some research and noting that there wasn't really a classroom approach to the National Mall. And we really wanted to develop something that was engaging for educators and save them time, and also had low barriers to entry. Everybody could really kind of connect with all the content and material on the site. So I'm going to hand it over to my colleague, Bobby Caith, who is our tech product manager, and he's going to walk us through the site. So you are getting a sneak preview. Not a lot of people have seen this. It is now open to the public, and enjoy. Take it away, Bobby.
Thank you, Jeremy. Let me just share my screen. We'll get that going. Good evening, everyone. I think you see my screen. My name is Bobby Caith. I am the technology product manager for the National Mall Gateway. I am an educator with 20 years experience. I'm an educational technologist, which just means I sit at the intersection of education and technology. And what makes me really knowledgeable for this job specifically, I was a tour guide on the National Mall for about 8 years right after college. So I loved using the National Mall as a classroom. I brought over 10,000 students and 5,000 teachers. So the idea of getting to use the classroom, the National Mall, for even more students and more teachers is really exciting and amazing opportunity for me. Before we hop into the gateway for the demo itself, I just kind of want to talk to you about a couple of guiding principles we used. For those of you who are familiar with the National Mall, the logistics of the National Mall can be tricky. And for those of you who are teachers, you know that if students need a restroom, or students need food, or students need any of those things, they aren't paying attention to you talking. So, or they aren't listening to each other as well, right? So there's a logistical component of the gateway to help you get around the mall if you're on site. Another thing we developed around was that this should be a tool before your trip, during your trip, and after your trip. So there will be lesson plans and activities before you come to the mall, while you're on the mall, and even after your visit. And the other thing that we just designed around was specifically making sure that that students and teachers who couldn't get to the mall could use this as well. So we'll see those things. 2 other quick pieces. One, this right now is a website, mobile optimized. If you've been on the mall logistically, you know, downloading an app would be tricky. So we focused on just having a mobile app, and you'll see the way the mobile features with that as well. And the other piece, this is a nonpartisan app. We're making sure that this is open for everybody. And the idea, like just like the National Mall, So let's give you a tour. I'm so excited to show you around. So welcome to our homepage. This is our carousel where you see a few of our main items called out. We have a couple of our hero boxes here. About Gateway, we'll bring you to all these pages in a moment. The National Mall, this is a video that kind of level sets and gives some basic knowledge about the National Mall, and then the tours. But really, the homepage is built around the site cards. I'm a big baseball fan, so think of each of these as a baseball card for the memorials or monuments. So let's start with the first one, the first monument, the Washington Monument. So first things first, over here on your left, you'll see sort of a table of contents of what's on each site card. We'll then have these photographs, both from our technical team and from Dikey. And these are unique views of the memorials and monuments. Some of the other ones you'll see are more close up. The monument is a larger one, but you'll see the close up details on the other ones. It makes you kind of feel like you're there. Then here's these logistical pieces we're talking about, restrooms, all those sorts of pieces. Right now, as you all know, there's a government shutdown, so many of the indoor sites are closed. So the monument is closed for right now. So you see that right there. Also, you can still reserve tickets for the future and all those sorts of things. Next, we have an overview of, one of these site cards, one of the things we have to juggle is, are folks coming here to learn about the person or about the site itself? Well, we think it's both, right? So over here on the overview, you'll see a little bit about the person, George Washington, and then the site itself. If you click this directions on your phone, it'll send you right to Google Maps or whatever maps you use. We'll keep going. We have a video right here. We're going to click into a little more of these videos later on, but these are Make-Matic videos that we made with them, and they're on each of them on 5 memorials and sites right now. We're hoping to have more coming forward. Another feature that we're working on, it was in meetings today about, is that we're going to be adding the monument cam right here. So there'll always be a live stream of what's on top of the Washington Monument and the view from up there. Then we have a timeline going through the history of, again, the person and the site itself. Key features. So another big part of the Gateway is the digital layer we're adding to the National Mall. So there's many things that you see, and there's many things that you do not necessarily know are there right in front of you, right? So on at the monument, there are 193 commemorative stones inside of it that are from different people who are donated from. You can click right here, and then you can learn about each of those sites. For many of the other key features, we have photos built in, so you can see the view from the observation deck. You can see the exhibit spaces, what's available. And then you could see the other pieces around the memorial. We have the cultural impact, and then again, as an education site, reflection questions. You're going to see reflection questions all over the place. Another sneak peek to give you, we are adding accordions to each of these as well. So soon there will be drop downs for middle school, high school, college, elementary school students. All those will be coming as well. So those are the site cards, and each of the memorials have one of those, each of the 16. And when you come back to our homepage, you can click on here and you can see the map. And this map shows you which sites we're currently working with. Sort of lays it out for you just to sort of have an overarching idea of where each site we are. Now, the next part of the homepage has 3 parts in one, is the pre-built tours. So these are all tours built on the National Mall already for you to go on. So you can click on it. Let's walk around. Let's look at the America 250, right? Seems like fitting for right now. So what you'll see here is a map of the tour built out already for you, the sites, educational activities, again, tied to each of those sites, reflection questions. Again, if you hit this get directions, it opens up on your phone, gives you a map right on your preferred mapping service. And then if you're a little bit more old school, a little bit analog, you can hit download map, and it PDFs this map for you with questions. So if you're a teacher walking around, you can just download that map, or you can give it right to students. So that is our homepage. There's a lot right there. Let me bring you back to the About page. So our About page is a pretty straightforward About page. Some photography, who we are and why we're doing this, how to sign up for our MailChimp, which we will talk to you all about multiple times today. Learn more about the Trust Monumental Moment campaign. This, I think, is a really useful tool right here. These are the frequently asked questions for the mall. What is the National Mall? All those sort of basic level questions that a lot of students have. Our accessibility statement, how to connect with us, how to donate, who our supporters are, both financial supporters and educational partners and advisors. This group of folks right here are, many of you probably know a lot of these folks up here. They are real leaders in the civic world, and they've worked with us and consulted with us and advised us on how best for us to build this tool. So we're really excited to be working with these folks and to have their input and their ideas on it. All right, we're going to head over to the Mall Moments section. All right, so Mall Moments are basically articles on the National Mall. They could be everything from something, a marker that's there, which we'll talk about in a moment, a bridge, or something that you might not see or might not know that happened there. So as I'm talking about these, if you have any Mall Moments that you would love to see featured, please put those in the chat as well. So we'll talk about one specifically for a marker that's there. This is the first airmail marker. So this story, it tells a story about the first airmail that left from the National Mall. So you can see pictures from it, you can read about it. Students, we imagine like this, and the site cards will be things that teachers could use in their class as an activity, right? Maybe homework, hopefully not, hopefully an activity in class as well, but it's really a tool already built out for students and teachers to use already. You'll see all these, more photos. Again, what inspired, the postage stamp inspired from the event, and then the marker itself. And again, reflection questions here. We have a few more, we have a lot more Mall Moments coming. The next one up is Tempos, which is about temporary buildings on the National Mall. We're hoping to have some more on the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom, some on the honor flights, and the one I'm hoping to get up for the postseason for baseball is the story of Gabby Street, a Washington baseball player who caught a ball off the side of the Washington Monument in 1908. So these are stories that we're hoping that, surface up some different pieces of the National Mall that you may not be lesser known or less familiar stories. I'm going to bring you on the virtual tour next. So the virtual tour was really born out of some conversations with our technical team. The idea behind this was one of the technical folks' daughters was looking at colleges during COVID, and the way she was looking at them was through virtual tours. And as we all know, a virtual tour isn't always as good as an in-person tour, but it really kind of gives you that immersive feel to it, right? And I think that this is what we went for here. So we'll click to one of the more complex memorials, and one of my favorite, the FDR Memorial. So Ranger Jen actually gave a tour and webinar to a group of students in upstate New York using this 360, right? So we shot these 360s at dawn for the memorials, and you'll see these have a lot less people in them. You'll see some of the cherry blossom ones. If you click around on the cherry blossom ones, you'll see that they are filled with people because those were shot midday. But these ones for the memorial are shot early in the morning to kind of get that nice light and also to get less people traffic. And you can click around the memorial and walk through it like you're walking around. A couple of things to point out. So there are binoculars, and these binoculars are sort of, for those of you who remember, pop-up videos similar to that. These are little pop-up things about the memorials. You can click around, learn about those. These green points bring you through the memorial. And this is what Ranger Jen did. We talked to the students about a lesson, and then she gave them a tour, just like this. And because it was still new to Ranger Jen, she was noticing the light and was just talking through this like she was on the mall with kids. And it really kind of gives you that feel to it. One of the future features that we see, absolutely, is that we expect, as I said, pop-up video, we expect these to have videos. We're going to be bringing in more content from partners, and we'll have videos in there so that, you know, we know that the memorials sometimes need extra scaffolding, and sometimes students don't know all the pieces of, you know, maybe students don't necessarily understand all the ins and outs of the Great Depression. We'll hear when they look at the bread line, there'll be ways to deeper that understanding and understand it more. Also, again, educational activities. So you can click over here on the side. There'll be educational activities right up there. All right, so let's go back to the home page. So everything I have showed you so far has been in front of the educational portal. I'm logged in because I just needed to for this presentation, but everything you see has been open and you do not need to log in. When you log in as a teacher, right now we would love for teachers to create accounts to log in. When you log in, you'll have access to much more of these educational features, right? So you'll see, I think there's like 3 to 5 activities on each site. When you're not in the logged out state, but when you're in the logged in state, you'll see all of them at your disposal, at your fingertips. One other thing to point out, we showed you the pre-built tours. Now, if you're logged in, you can build your own tour. So you can select the sites you like. Again, kind of went with a 250 theme here. We got Constitution Gardens. We'll do 56 Signers. We'll do Washington Monument, Mason, and Jefferson. And when you click up here, you'll see it pre-builds the tour right for you. Let's click off that so you can see the tour right there. Again, same exact functions. Again, get directions, brings you to the map, brings you your map, download map, rinse out a PDF. So let's go back to the activities page. So on the activities page, you can see all the different activities set up for us that we have. Again, we are expecting that teachers will use some of these before their trip, during their trip, and after their trip. You know, when I was a teacher in DC, I brought my kids to the mall early in the school year, and then I would talk about the mall for the rest of the time, right? So when I foresee that teachers, like seniors, will, you know, maybe in their AP history classes, will be, hopefully their teacher will open this up and say, we're going to talk about World War II. Let's kind of go walk around the mall, kind of remember what the World War II memorial looks like. And then you can kind of go right from there, right into one of these lessons or activities. Give me 1 second. This is loading slow. There we go. Great. So you can see all these different activities here. Right now, there is a few different types of activities. We have activities from the National Park Service. We have activities we've created in-house, and we've had activities that are AI generated as well that are human vetted. We'll talk more about that later in the activity section. But each of these activities goes through a pretty easy template. We'll just grab, let's look at this one. So you'll start to see, you know, tell you if it's for middle school, what level it's for, developing, beginner, intermediate, or advanced. We have an overview. We have an objective of each activity, vocabulary, steps, reflection questions. We love reflection questions around here, teacher notes, and then where the source activity comes from, right? So all of these activities are built using this template, where we'll be working with more content partners. That is one of the big things of this fall. We're bringing in content from a lot of other sites and a lot of other partners, but we'll talk more about that later. And I think for right now, I think we kind of got through the main part of the gateway. Unless Jeremy, if I missed anything, I don't think I have.
I think you're all set. Let's see if
Great.
the crowd has any questions. Thank you, Bobby, for the tour as well. Like I said, this is a site that's designed for educators by educators. So we hope it's a good place for us also as designers to get some good feedback. If you do have any questions or insights, drop them into the chat before we move on, because we're going to have a little segment here on the Lockkeeper's house. One of the questions that does come up for a lot of people is that they're wondering how the whole site works. And we did mention AI, which is a really buzzy word right now in education. We have designed a way to use AI both ethically and academically sound. And that means we have agreements with all of our partners who provide content for the AI model. The model is enclosed in something called a walled garden, which only allows vetted content that is both truthful, not misinformation bound, and has academic integrity from a number of sources. And we also cite our sources. You can tell teachers did this because we want to cite our work. We want to make sure that everyone is comfortable with what's being used. The real mechanism is we built a tool that creates lesson resources from some of the best, most vetted and reliable civic learning sites that kind of surround or in the orbit of the National Mall. And that may be something that you have a question about. I see a question. What are some ways to tailor the use of the gateway for different age groups? There are filters in the lesson planning tool, and that's great too. You can also bring in, you say if you want to have a look directly at only middle years or middle school content. Our site is really hoping to target that sort of 6th through 9th, but we know that there are advanced subjects like the AP folks who are going to be using it, and then even the people that K through 6. We have a lot of really good teacher partners who take their grade school folks down here too. So we also know that teachers are highly adaptable and flexible people. So we want to take some feedback about the lesson resources, about how we can adapt them more, or how you all have done that too, how you all have used as users have developed it as well. I will emphasize that this is a free resource for educators. And speaking of resources, Bobby, let's move on to the Lockkeeper's house.
Can we say one other quick thing before we go there,
go for
Jeremy?
it. Yeah,
absolutely.
Please do.
So for all of you who just saw the gateway, if there are features you expected to see or would love to see, please add those to the chat as well. Though we are continuing to build this out, and we are always looking for feedback and thoughts on this. And we've had a lot of educators help already so far, but we would love to have even more. So let's hop to the Lockkeepers.
And at the end of this, we'll load up on some links and drop them into the chat too, useful ones. Of course, the microsite that Lindsay was talking about as well is a great resource about DC and all of the sites around DC with our partners, DestinationDC. Here's the big question. What is the Lockkeeper's house? And this is one of my favorite things to talk about because it's a big trust for the National Mall project with the National Park Service. It's the oldest built structure on the National Mall. It was built in 1837. And even before the Washington Monument, of course, if you know your history, and I know a lot of you do know your history. Oh, thank you, Lindsay. You put that in the chat. I appreciate it. So we've worked with the Lockkeeper's house. It tells the story of a changing landscape. And also, this is what I'm fascinated with. I used to be an archaeologist, the everyday lives of people who lived and worked on and around the National Mall. And it's been a witness to the development of the National Mall and the capital city as we know it today. And many of the events over the last 200 years have really gone past or surrounded the Lockkeeper's house. So it's a great place to take your students. It's got an indoor space that's air conditioned on the National Mall. It's kind of tiny. And there's a 7-minute video exhibit that plays on the windows, which really focuses on what this building has seen. And I find that fascinating. It really is a wonderful place. Bobby just brought up the 360 on it too. Today, we can't go into it inside of it because of the government shutdown, but you can get inside of the Lockkeeper's house through the gateway. And you'll see we have a visitor centers there. The house is full of surprises. If you can reimagine, and I always like to do this with my students, think about the sightscape, soundscape, and smellscape of Washington in the past. This is a landscape that had the Potomac River flowing right up to the base of what is now the Nat Washington Monument. And this was where the Lockkeeper and their family lived. So instead of 17th Street and Constitution Avenue by the mall, it would be a canal. It's the C&O Canal and the Washington City Canal intersecting, and a Lockkeeper would have to manage boats moving goods and services up and down through the city. Pretty fascinating. It's been moved twice. Once in 1915 with the expansion of 17th Street, and once in 2018 with a joint effort from the Trust for the National Mall and the National Park Service to restore the building and also move it out of a traffic pattern. It's been used as a restroom, storage space, even a holding cell for the U.S. Park Police at one point, but it mostly sat unused and kind of unsafe. It was boarded up and a bit of an eyesore. We restored it with a full team of historic preservationists. And really, this is one of those little obscure things that if you come to the mall or if you're showing people the mall, people think of the monuments and the memorials. This is an interesting little aspect of the mall that a lot of people don't think about as the oldest structure. It's open weekly, Thursday through Sunday, 11 a.m. and 3 p.m., staffed by our wonderful volunteers in parks. And the mall would not be the way it is if we didn't have that partnership between volunteers and the rangers who run the National Mall. And if you really, want to go see it, I suggest going during those hours. But it's also a really great structure to take a look at with the gardens around it. And the original outline of the original location is still there too as well. So we look forward to welcoming visitors again after the shutdown is over, fingers crossed. And I want to hand it over to Bobby, who's going to bring up a little 2-minute video that we've put together about the Lockkeeper's house. And this is another piece of the gateway, as we've got video supplements to this with one of our partners, Makematic. We also have the video of the moving of the building on there as well, which looked amazing when you pick up a house and move it. Granted, it was a one-room house. And it's also hard to imagine that an entire family lived in there, which was really cool. So you have people moving and lifting up an entire house. Nobody lives there now, but the rangers and volunteers do work out of the space. And if you can see the video moving the house in there too. We literally picked the thing up and moved it. And it was a pretty amazing process in 2018. And we're hoping that it's an enduring site on the National Mall as well, with people coming in there. People have wandered in there thinking it's a number of things, but it's actually a visitor space and a great historic interpretation place.
Let me cue up the video for you.
Okay.
One thing we just wanted to point out that sometimes videos like this are slightly laggy when we're going over there, so over Zoom. So if it is, I apologize, and I'll look to my colleagues for a thumbs up to tell me if the sound is working. Fantastic.
Historic places matter. They tell stories, connect generations, and show how cities evolve. The Lockkeeper's house sits on the National Mall near Washington, D.C.'s most iconic monuments and museums. As the oldest building on the mall, it might be easy to miss, but this little stone house has quite literally been around the block. Built in the 1830s, it was once home to a lockkeeper and his family at the intersection of two canals. At the time, parts of D.C. were marshland beside the Potomac River. City planners had built canals to move people and supplies through Washington, D.C. They used special gates called locks to raise and lower boats as they moved between waterways at different levels. But with the introduction of the railroad, canals soon became outdated. Some were filled in and covered by new roads and parks. The Lockkeeper's house found new uses: holding cell, park police, bike storage, even a public restroom, before it was finally abandoned. By 2017, it was boarded up and neglected, until preservationists led by the Trust for the National Mall stepped in. They carefully lifted the 400,000-pound building, moved it about 50 feet, and painstakingly restored it. But why go to so much trouble for this simple stone house? Because inside these walls is a time capsule, preserving the rhythms of a city that once flowed with canals, the life of a working family, and forgotten footprint of a waterway that shaped the capital. Today, the restored Lockkeeper's house welcomes visitors with interactive exhibits about the history of the mall. What would you want to preserve in your community?
Thank you, Bobby. And Bobby is going to share the takeaway today. This is the lesson resource on the Lockkeeper's house. We've given you a little bit of background in history. And I will note a little bit of a nerdy teacher thing for me is that we're all about having a reflection question in order to seal that learning. So you'll see it in all of our, pretty much everything we put out there has a reflection opportunity. Preparation, activity, and reflection is a really good tried and true technique. So I will pass it over to Bobby.
Thank you, Jeremy. So we actually have 3 activities for you. The first one picks up exactly where that question left off. The lesson plan is called Connecting the Lockkeeper's House to Local Community History. So the idea behind this activity would be students would watch this video, come to the National Mall, watch this video, or just watch this video in their class, and then use it as a jumping off point to talk about what should be preserved in their community, right? I think if you ask students this yourself, their answers could often surprise you. I've asked this question many times, and it's been everything from, historically old things to things that are actually just important to young people. And there's value to that, right? So I think this is one of those activities for me that it can be done in your classroom. It can be done with a little bit of research, like on computers, or teachers can provide that research themselves if computers aren't accessible. Or it could be one of those things that students can use and go push themselves and go further. Actually go to a town hall and talk about these sort of issues for them, right? The idea behind this, behind the mall and behind the gateway, is really to help students be involved in the civic process in many ways. So we have this one right here, and it talks through all the steps you need. We have, again, the links up at the top for the gateway and the video itself, and then steps, reflection questions, teacher notes, and a teacher briefing on the Lockkeeper's house as well. We have a couple other ones. I want to point this one out. This is a creative writing one, and this is a reflection activity where students, upon either clicking through the virtual tour or seeing the site itself, they imagine what it's like to be a Lockkeeper or one of the Lockkeeper's children. What was a day in their life? What did it feel like? All those sorts of pieces, right? So we have, again, same sort of template: overview, objective, vocabulary, steps, reflection question, and teacher notes. And we have a briefing right here, sort of explaining what it's like what it was like in a day in the life of the Lockkeepers. And then here, another lesson plan we have, or activity, is the building of the Chesapeake and Ohio Canal, right? So kind of connected, a little bit off the National Mall, but really these are the canals that the lock was connected to, right? So this one is from our National Park Service ones. So you can see that it follows the same template. And then when you click out here, it brings you to their site to see the source material, right? So again, we're really, when we think about the activities, when we think about all the activities on the gateway, we're really trying to think about how to make the National Mall be in your classroom, not just only talking about your trip to DC, but how to bring it back many different ways, right? Especially for the 250, the National Mall is really, and so many other historic sites are really important for this moment in time. I'm going to bring it back for questions.
So you may have some questions, or you may be thinking about this and have them later on. You can also get in touch with us through the resources we give as we close out too. Oh, I see something. Those lesson plans are part of the educator login? I jumped on that question there. That's a great question. Bobby, kind of explain what it means to log in. By the way, all of this is free for educators. And we define educators as individuals who work in any kind of school institution. We also see family units as having an education piece to it, as well as our homeschool and broader range of educational organizations and styles. Bobby, tell them a little bit about that login.
Yeah, so it's pretty straightforward. If you go up to, I keep jumping around here. I'll go back to the gateway. Here we go, back to the gateway. When you go back up to the top, I'm logged in. But let's go here, sorry. Great. There should be a sign in button right up here. I'll sign that right now. And you can sign in or sign up. And it's pretty easy. We made it again very frictionless. That was the goal behind it. We have basically you sign in. You could, if you were starting up, you would say sign up. You would pick if you want to use Apple or Google. If you want to use one of your single sign-ons, you can go that way. Or if you go with an email, it'll send you basically we call it a magic link. It sends you a magic link into your inbox. You click that and you just stay logged in. So it's not something you need a password for. If and when you get, after a while, it takes, a while, you'll be logged in. If you need to log back in, you just sign in again, and it sends you another email. It's pretty straightforward and pretty simple. We ask only one question right now. We ask what your role is. Down the road, we might be asking for more information, but right now we're only asking, again, if you're an educator or that educator or tour group or things of that nature, I think.
So the lesson plans and the lesson resources that Bobby just shared as well, those are on the front end of they're out, they're actually in the lesson resource collection without this login. But when you do log in, you'll have access to a broader range, a bigger library. And then we're also going to work with some educator generated lessons as well, because I think one of the best things I found in my teaching career is teachers telling teachers about how they teach and what they do, and sharing their own work. It's the best to kind of borrow and rework these pieces too. And if you do end up using some of these in the classroom, we'd love to hear how you do that. If there's something you modified, I love talking to educators about teaching. We're here for you. We're also here to get feedback because we are teachers. So I think we can also move on to like the tail end here, because we're going to load some links into the chat that get you to a couple of different things. But of course, the gateway.nationalmall.org is really the website. And I want to give you a call to action. And that call to action is not really a big obligation on your part, but we are saying for the first 250, get the number, it's significant. For the first 250 signups for the platform or logins, we will be sending out this fall some gateway kits that include an interesting classroom hanging, which is kind of map-like. In addition to that, we're developing baseball-style cards for the memorials and monuments, and then a couple of other resources as well. And we're also considering a couple of different sweepstakes for that first 250. So if you are on that first 250 group, you get an opportunity to have something free sent to you for your classroom. But in addition, we'll be having a drawing for that for a very special opportunity. And that could be a virtual or on-site opportunity. I'm not going to say too much about it. But we would like folks to kind of log in and test drive this. And in addition, like I said, you can reach out and let us know if there's anything that you think is missing, or if there's anything that you want to add there. And I would say that the only other thing that I think everyone should be aware of here is that keep coming back. But if you do sign up for our emails, you will also be getting notifications when new virtual webinars are available and when new features are available. I'm going to drop into the chat. Let's see here. We have a full library of our past virtual classrooms, a full library of past programs, the nationalmall.org, which is us, the National Park Service, and of course, Destination DC 250's microsite. I do see a great comment, great example of linking interesting themes, subjects across 2 national parks with a Lockkeeper's house and the C&O Canal. Thank you. Yes, it's really funny because we sat down with our developers and they were like, what are the boundaries of the National Mall? And it's really hard to say because there's no admissions, there's no gate, it's open all the time pretty much. And really what you have is really a lot of crossovers. We consider it to be like the crossroads, the nexus, and the container of a lot of things DC, but also part of the national conversation. So
to further elaborate on that, I think in the future we're hoping for activities from presidential libraries, from other sites, all like FDR. We'd love to have some stuff from Hyde Park, all these different sites, Eisenhower. We're trying, for us, we know that everything is both local and national, right? So students who are from Kansas, who see all the stuff for Eisenhower there, come to DC and then connect it back both ways, right? So we're looking for activities and lessons from all over to, again, for your trip, before your trip, during, and after your trip to the National Mall.
And I want to pass it over to Lindsay because she's our resident Destination DC expert. And I think it's a perfect time for you to bring us home, Lindsay.
Yes. Well, and I was going to say, though, there was one other question, if you wanted to answer that real quick.
Excellent.
Do you envision students using the gateway directly or primarily facilitated by educators?
Yes.
Well,
the answer is yes. And that's an interesting thing, is that the exploration is really something that we worked with students and school age young people to make it both an attractive site for the nuts and bolts educator who really needs to get work done, and then also for an exploration of those 360s and many of the other pieces of those mall moments, things that you don't see engraved in stone on the mall. That to me is kind of and I'll use another brand, the Atlas Obscura of the mall. And I was always a curious kid. So that's the kind of stuff that I wanted to dig into. So we're hoping that it hits both the educator and the students. It's a great question. Thank you.
One other thing to add is that we also see this for groups, that this is a tool that for parents as well, because we know that sometimes kids come to the National Mall and parents say, sure, but we don't know too much about it. We talked all about with some of our technicians and folks that when they came to the National Mall when they were a kid with their school group, they talked so much about it, their parents brought them back the following year and they connected with their parents on a deeper level. So I think down the road, we're hoping to have some more parent pieces as well. But we really see this as for teachers, students, parents, and visitors to the mall.
And grandparents. We love those multi-gen
Yes.
family travelers. And well, congratulations to you and your team. This is a spectacular addition to the DC landscape. And we are looking forward to continuing this webinar series throughout the year, again, in partnership with the Park Service. But we will have some friends from around the city joining that are not National Park Service sites. So look for some other attractions and conversations to be front and center using this platform. And any questions further on about this or DC or anything else, you can reach out to the three of us and we're happy to help.
Thank you, Lindsay. I'll put another little plug in there. If you are a social studies teacher and a member of NCSS, it's taking place in December in DC, and we will be there. So if you want to learn more and get involved. I always like to bring gifts, and hopefully we're bringing the gift of time here. We're done 10 minutes early, so fantastic. Thank you, all of you educators. Thank you for attending. I know it's an evening. It's probably been a long day. We hope you'll use the gateway. Have a great day.